Hey guys, my name is Ryan.
And my name is Miska.
And welcome to Overwatch Central. So the problem about habits is that they can be really difficult to stop doing. We've gone over our top 5 habits that people really need to stop doing, and for a good majority of people it was very helpful. But it's been quite a significant amount of time since then. The player base has evolved and more habits seem to be coming out, not only to do with mechanical skill, but also perception and attitude towards the game. Today we wanted to go over 5 bad habits that are really stopping you from progressing as a player. And this video is sponsored by Nvidia. Big shout out to them for enabling us to make content in 4K. So if you do have a 4K monitor, you can enjoy this video at 60 frames per second in a whopping 4K resolution. You can check out Nvidia and all of the products they make via the link in the description below. Before we get started, do let us know your tips and your habits, and we'll collect a bit of a list so we can all improve. But let's start off with our first habit.
So coming in first on our list, we have getting careless or reckless when you're close to 100% ultimate, but this also goes for some other situations. All in all, this bad habit has just to do with feeling like something is kind of in the bag, and that's when you get sloppy. If you are close to 100% ultimate, you might try to go for that reckless spray just to try and charge up your ult, because you think it will be game changing in that moment, and that's right when you get hooked, bursted, stunned, or just initiated upon in some way. I used to actually do this a lot myself, but luckily it's one of those things that's kind of easy to analyze if you just look back at your own games via footage, or have someone watching you play, and sometimes you might even notice it yourself when you actually die. The other situation where a similar thing to this can happen is when you are near the end of a capture or completion of an objective, and this goes for defending and attacking actually. So if you're really close to just closing out a map on attack or defense, you might feel like you got this, pop an ultimate, whiff that one ultimate, and then it's all downhill. This happens a lot with Reinhardt and especially Diva ultimates, where you throw out a self-destruct as the enemy team is coming in for the last push, and your mech will just shoot right past them. You'll pop the ultimate too early so they can avoid it and get on the point. There are a lot of things that can happen here, but what we're saying is essentially don't take anything for granted.
When we've covered mistakes and habits in the past, we've spoken a lot about getting picked off at the start, a very big sign of tilting, which is constantly tunnel visioning onto the point, and all of these have one thing very much in common. It has to do with the W key, or the forward button, and it's essentially moving forward too much, kind of tunnel visioning onto a point or objective, or just trying to be cheeky and overextend to get a kill. Now, we're not necessarily saying that playing aggressively isn't the way to go, but you need to be aware of how much you risk when you go for these overextending pushes. Zarya is a prime example of this. A Zarya on 100% weapon charge with her ultimate nearly ready is a very scary prospect. She could hold the choke very well and get off some terrific damage as well. The issue with playing Zarya though is that if you get caught out and you die, your weapon charge goes back to 0 and you have to build it all up again. So this is a really big habit that we wanted to go over. Sure, play aggressive when you have the advantage, but know when to disengage and to push back, because you're literally giving the enemy an easy pick for you and they can take the objective from there, and essentially you look a bit of a fool. So maybe give your W or forward button a bit of a break.
Next up, we have not trusting your teammates enough. And this doesn't solely have to do with you not trusting them to do their job, and us saying that that's just a bad thing to do overall, but that this takes away from the focus on yourself. And when you don't focus on yourself in Overwatch and are looking at other heroes on your team, it is very easy to forget to move around enough and get headshot by a Widowmaker, or just be forgetting to do the small things such as helping your team out in various ways, or getting a pick in a very small window of time. Either way, trust your teammates more because you can then focus on yourself more, and even if you aren't doing well as a team at that moment in time, focusing on yourself more might make that difference and allow you to sort of carry that game and be exactly what your team need in that particular situation. Even if you feel like stuff's not quite getting done the way you want to, then just make that clear to your team, try to write up a new plan with them, and move on. If you just keep focusing on other people, you have no time for yourself, and from there on out, it's very easy to just start being sloppy, lose out on opportunities, and those are the moments when you start tilting as well.
The next one is one that really irks me the most, and it's passive aggressiveness in comms. I think the main thing that I want to say here is that if you're playing a role of a tank or a healer, that doesn't mean that you can't be a toxic player. We've all been in those situations where you've loaded in onto a map and your team insta-looks the like of Widowmaker, Sombra, Torbjorn, in those situations where it doesn't work out. Sure, we've all been there, but it's how you deal with this that separates you from being a player that can improve and a player that is just sort of shooting themselves in the foot. Sitting there and going over comms and just going, sighing, or just generally demanding people to change, getting really tilted, putting dots in the chat, saying GG's early in a match. that's just going to tilt people from the get-go. I'm not saying that a lot of the time being nice and asking people to change is necessarily going to work, but you being passive-aggressive, getting tilted, and essentially being toxic in this situation, and it goes from a lost B potential to almost certain.
Last on our list, we have continuing with engagements with allies down. And you might feel like this has some similarities to earlier mentioned bad habits, but what we mean exactly by this is that you initiate upon the enemy team, but this is the thing with Overwatch, it's very, very fast. And sometimes you do engage upon the enemy team, and they just get a very lucky random pick right from the get-go, and that snowballs into another pick on your team, and all of a sudden you're 2 heroes down, even though you initiated with ultimates and you're feeling confident. And this might still be a good time to back off so you don't start chaining deaths and so on. A lot of the time this is very much down to the individual, and there will be that one person that might just continue with the push on their own, die, and because of that start chaining deaths. So you really can't just wait for other people to start doing this, you just have to keep this in mind yourself at all times. So do not continue with engagements, even if there are too many allies down, and even if you have used a few ultimates maybe. This very easily happens with those heroes that have movement abilities to initiate, as they will be right in the middle of the fight. And whilst they might feel like they can stay up for that bit longer, their team might just not be strong enough to be there with them. So if you are that Genji or Winston or other very mobile hero that can just dive onto the enemy team right at the start of a fight, then do keep this in mind.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. Do let us know your bad habits that you're dealing with currently. And a big shout out again to Nvidia for making this video possible. Hopefully you enjoyed this video in 4K if you have a 4K monitor. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps out the channel. And until next time, take care. We'll see you then.